Hello, good morning. It is Morning Coffee with Steve, episode 217 for Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I've got iced coffee in my Matrix mug today. Oh yeah, just what I needed. It was hard to be able to wake up this morning, not gonna lie. And this coffee is definitely going to hit the spot. All right, I'm going to jump into the news pretty much right away, mainly because there is a video that I want to watch kind of all the way through and just sort of analyze it for, just for funs and also for shits and giggles, and then also for potential accessibility. But first, I want to go over a particular story. Or at least start. I don't know why I started it that way. That was a weird sentence. Ubisoft is being sued for making the crew unplayable. This is by Tom Ivan over at VGC. A pair of California consumers are suing Ubisoft for closing down racing game The Crew. In December 2023, the publisher quietly delisted The Crew from digital storefronts and confirmed that the online-only game would no longer be playable beginning this April. After almost a decade of support, we'll be decommissioning The Crew 1 on March 31st, 2024. It's set at the time. We understand this may be disappointing for players still enjoying the game, but it is necessary due to upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. Now spotted by Polygon, 2 impacted players have launched a proposed class action lawsuit accusing Ubisoft of violating California consumer protection laws. They claim it duped consumers by telling them that they were buying a game when in fact all they were renting was a limited license to access a game that defendants choose to maintain at their own noblesse oblige. I don't know. That's some legalese right there. Plaintiffs also claims that the product's packaging falsely represented the crew, that the crew itself was encoded onto physical discs consumers could buy or the digital files consumers could pay to download, when in fact the physical discs and downloaded files consumers paid for were more akin to a key they could use to open the gates of this remote server, which defendants could one day decide to fail to maintain. Excuse me. Oof. Oh, you ever had that kind of like a little bit of like gas just sort of sits there? Yeah, that's what happened. Which defendants could one day decide to fail to maintain. The plaintiffs want the court to approve the lawsuit as a class action and are seeking monetary relief and damages for affected players. The suit also notes that the Ubisoft previously shut down online servers for old games while preserving their offline features, as was the case with Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 3. In response to a fan backlash in September, Ubisoft announced plans to launch offline modes for The Crew 2 and The Crew Motorfest. We want to acknowledge that some of your voice concerns about the access to The Crew game, says Stefan Bailey, Senior Creative Director of the franchise at Ivory Tower. Today, we want to express our commitment to the future of The Crew 2 and The Crew Motorfest. We currently exploring different solutions and can confirm an offline mode to ensure long-term access to both titles. So, this is definitely one of those kind of like stories that, it's sensationalized in the sense of like Ubisoft is being sued for closing down a game. And I get that. But I think that actually like normally these kind of like lawsuits are usually like frivolous on like when you're trying to go up against a company for something like that. This though has some merit, mainly because this is in against actually I think California has a new rule that essentially I think it's California. I can't remember which. Let me know in the comments if it is in California. But the new law is that. At some point, game producers or game developers are going to have to say that you're purchasing a license for the game, not necessarily the game itself, because of games that are being run on servers or that they can be shut down at any given point, basically for consumer protection. Now, with regards to The Crew, which is quite an older game, and I can see why Ubisoft is with their stance with The Crew 2 and The Crew Motorfest, because they are the most recent of the titles. Crew 2 being, I think, around 2016, 2017, around that time. Let me actually see. Let me just do a quick Google search on these. The Crew release date. December 2nd, 2014. So it has been 10 years. And then I think the Crew 2 would have been the oldest one. And that was released in 2018. Okay, so about 2 years later than I thought. Okay, so with that being said, the plaintiffs, the ones suing the Ubisoft, are in the right. The fact that like they continue to keep playing the game. Yeah, it's a 10-year-old game, but they continue to still keep playing it. And the fact that Ubisoft just shuts down the entire server so they can't even play it at all. This is one of the things that I do not want studios to do anymore, is that you have to be online in order for a game to be able to, like, for you to be able to play a game, and that it has to be connected to servers. Which is why I'm glad that Ubisoft is doing an offline mode for Crew 2 and also for the Crew Motorfest, which is more like came out I think last year. But they should also offer it for previous Crew series. I think this needs to be set as a precedent. Again, this is not necessarily like Ubisoft is doing absolutely wrong in this situation. This is just the way that game development or game publishing has been for the past decade or so. Is that if a game, is older, then they just sort of discontinue selling it or discontinue using it or letting it, like, because having the servers run for 10 years and continue to keep serving it for 10 years, that's a lot. So that's why creating an offline mode makes it kind of like makes up for it. And so I'm hoping that this could be set as a precedent to be like any studio who requires that the game be online, that there should be an offline mode created, or at least be able to. And then this also brings into the conversation. Let me bring up actually my full screen for this. This also brings into the conversation again in regards to video game preservation. There are so many games that are being lost to time just because publishers aren't selling them anymore. Whether physical or digital, they're not on any digital storefronts, licensing expires, all that, and it just means that these games are not playable unless there is somehow a physical version of the game, or someone still has it installed on one of their consoles. And if we want to be able to continue to, like, the film has had this for a long time. They have an entire library, and video games are starting to kind of have that. But we need to get better at that, like especially for a lot of the games that are in the 2002, to basically, I'd say probably between 2005 and 2015. There's a lot of games that have been released in there that are too old to be purchasable in stores physically, and also too long to be able to be kept on digital store shelves, especially if there are games that are online. So, and this is kind of like in that era of games had to be online, or games that essentially are not being sold. So there's the danger that a lot of those games, unless they were super popular and been re-released since then, that they would be gone forever. And so as much as I don't like, I don't necessarily want to see in essence Ubisoft being sued for this, because this always does affect the people that work at Ubisoft. That is not necessarily just the higher ups, because higher ups always stay fine. It's always like if they have to pay out in a class action lawsuit, that money's got to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from, definitely not going to come from the executives' pockets. That I'm telling you that right now. So I think this needs to be set as a precedent going forward, whether Ubisoft settles out of court or goes to court with this. I hope they don't go to court with this and that they settle out of court, because if they go to court with this is going to open them up to a lot more scrutiny and a lot more PR, a much bigger PR nightmare than they currently would be in. So my thing is, I want this couple to win, because it's going to, again, set a precedent that games need to be, or if you're going to just put a game into offline mode, or basically remove a game from the servers, if it is online only, put it into offline mode, create an offline mode, because we need to be able to keep preserving these games for future players. Just for because there's a lot of games that are going to be, again, lost to time. So I'm actually on the and I'm not even like a corporate apologist either. I just, because I work with some of these studios, There's really, really great people there. That's the people I care about when I'm talking about when I care about Ubisoft or Xbox or PlayStation, is because the people. It's not because a corporation in of itself. Corporation likes to think that, like, there's a whole legal precedent that a corporation is a person, not a company of hundreds or thousands of people. No, so I care about the people working within this corporation, and oftentimes they don't deserve to be able to get the scrutiny or the harassment or the basically the constant like lessening security of their own jobs. They don't deserve any of that. So that's when I say I am for Ubisoft, I'm for Xbox, I'm for PlayStation, Nintendo, whichever studio. That's who I'm talking about. Just want to clarify that as for all time. You can clip this out if you need to every time I talk about it. But when I talk about the company, I'm talking about the people within the company that is going to be directly affected. So what I would love to, what I love is to send a signal to managers or producers or executives at a higher level of studios to not make the decision to make their game online only, and then in the future making it so that they have to when they shut it down, that basically they just now block off access to every single person who's ever purchased their game. We need to go back to having offline modes. We don't I understand when there are certain aspects of a game that you need to be online for. But if you have services or things built into the game itself that you're constantly having to be able to ping a server somewhere, you need to rethink how that works. Because now you're forcing players to be online. And granted, we do live in a very online world, so this does sound like, oh, this is not a big deal. But it especially for games that are this old and the servers just kind of like disappear. But like, again, like if that's your favorite game of all time and you want to keep playing it, you deserve to be able to keep playing it. So that's my thinking on that. Anywho. All right, let us jump into the next story, which is what popped up yesterday. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle gets 14-minute gameplay deep dive video. Now, I have not watched this video. I'm grabbing this from Tom Ivan over at VGC, but I do have the video specifically up right now that I do want to watch. So yeah, let's just sit down and watch it together. I'm going to pause the music, and here we go. I apologize for the audio listeners. I'm going to try to describe what I'm talking about when I do interrupt as I go.
Scene.
All right, so we got some first-person action here. Walk into a very large chamber. There's an idol. Why would he just grab it like that? He knows. He knows he's not supposed to do that. Unless it's early, Indy. He just smashed the idol with a rock and found another rock. Uh-oh. Lots of things crumbling around him. Oh, okay. Now we're actually going to escape the
It's like quicksand.
Oh, okay. The quicksand brought him up to the hatch. Oh, he's now escaping everything. Ooh, this is like a first-person sort of like escape. Ooh, there goes the whip. Nice.
Welcome to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm Pete Ward, audio director at Machine Games. Here to
Nice.
introduce you to
Punch
this
a Nazi.
first-person action-adventure game that will take
Oh,
you
actually, you
on
know
a
what? I want to
global
go back
journey
for a
as the
second. I wanted to see you see something there. Oh, nope. Let's go back. Going back. There we go. Okay. So when you do pick up an item, I see that there's at least a decently large text in there. I wonder if they're going to be able to increase the font size of that, but I do like to be able to see this large heading and large descriptive text underneath. Seems to be pretty decently contrasted. I'm trying to see if there's like a background to the text. It doesn't look like it. It looks like there's like just a drop shadow, which I don't know if there is going to be like background like opacity to be able to adjust for that, but it's good to see that they got they sort of are going with a larger text, which is great. Okay, continue on.
Adventure game.
Okay, but now let's take a look at the HUD though. The HUD don't look so. The HUD definitely did look small. It's minimalist, which I get because you got like a little Indiana Jones icon on the bottom left. You got some sort of, I'm assuming health pips in the bottom center, and I'm assuming either bullets or some sort of stamina something on the right.
That will take you on a global journey as the legendary archaeologist.
Thanks, pal.
Explore the forgotten marvels of the world with the tools you need to embark on a classic indie story. The fedora, the whip, the revolver.
Yeah.
You'll experience what it feels like to step into the boots of the legend. Our story begins here. Professor Jones is awoken by a break-in.
All right, pal. You can't sleep here.
With a priceless relic stolen, the chase is
Uh-oh.
on to uncover the mystery. Joining the chase is Gina, an Italian journalist with a quest of her own.
Yeah, but that's superstition. And I don't believe in superstition.
Neither do I. But if Voss thinks those stone relics can help the Reich, then we have to find them before he does.
No, you have to find them.
He does
I
sound
have to find my
quite a bit
sister.
like Harrison Ford. I'll give him that.
Standing against them is Indy's rival, archaeologist Emmerich Voss, who is plundering sites around the globe, searching for a set of mysterious artifacts. But as Indy digs deeper, he soon discovers the theft is only a small part of a grander global conspiracy.
Ich muss Sie warnen, Herr Voss.
I must warn you, Herr Voss, I have heard these relics are very dangerous.
Sie sollen
They contain
Kräfte
forces
fördern,
that are not of this earth.
die nicht von dieser Welt sind.
That is exactly why the Führer wants them.
Luckily, Indy and Gina have a global network of allies to counter Voss.
I am Dame Nawal Shafiq Bakli.
We made it, Henri.
I'm an archaeologist.
Another one.
Another one?
The game is designed around the charm and resourcefulness of our hero. You will be thrown into this story-driven journey where Indy must hunt for clues to uncover the Great Circle's mysteries.
What do we have here?
Ooh, more UI. Okay, hold on. Going back. Come on. There we go. Okay, again, more larger text like this. It would be better if, well, actually, no, it is readable text. So I like this. So this is actually kind of one of those like accessible design aspects that I love. So, you know, when you pick up a note in a game and sometimes they have the read button that basically displays the handwritten text as just normal text. I like that this is essentially doing the same thing, but without you having to be able to hit a button in order to be able to read it. So you have the note, which is basically like you could read it if you really could read that chicken scratch handwriting, which I can't. But it has, well, I guess actually it's because the note's called Mad Scribbles. Like probably is it, but I like that it has the text on the left hand side. That's kind of, again, that's one of those accessible design elements that you just sort of think about that as it's just part of the UI of the game. That's something you don't need an option for. It'd be great if you could be able to increase the text size of this, but I don't like this being the default size. I'm not mad at it. I personally wish it could be bigger because it's still hard for me to be able to read, even at this larger size. Except for mad scribbles is probably the only one thing I can actually be able to read from a somewhat distance. But the rest is nice. The only thing I'm not now looking at both. I'm noticing that essentially it's gray on black, and for contrast, for accessibility, you don't want gray on black. It is better with the white, as they do with the mad scribbles and the stolen cat mummy on here, because that stands out a lot better for contrast than gray on black, or basically just a darker gray. It'd be better if it was just all white, but that's basically it. Anyway, moving on. Ooh, wait, hold on. I saw that. Okay, so it looks like that anything you interact with or you want to interact with will have a highlight around it. That's going to be great for visibility, for low contrast. Not so great for totally blind players, but there is a bit of a sound effect there. Let me just listen to it. Okay, so it sounds like the sound effect only happens when you hit a button. So to me, it doesn't sound like that there's going to be a sound effect for interactable items. It just looks like it'll only happen when you hit a button. So that's a shame.
This race for answers will take you to ancient crypts, lost civilizations, and much more. The focus for this game is adventure.
Okay, wait. More UI stuff. Map unlocked, sanctuary map. Okay, still again larger text and white text, which basically makes it great for contrast. Like that.
I found a key to a hidden chamber.
What was this built for?
Looks like a temple. Maybe a rite of passage for Khmer warriors.
When you venture into the unknown, we want exploration to feel truly rewarding.
Let me see here.
We carefully crafted each environment to encourage players to uncover clues.
Okay, so there is still that, yeah.
Discover valuable objects.
There we go.
And reveal hidden secrets that can aid you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they're definitely a lot of the interactable items are going to have an outline, which is going to be great for visibility. We wish it would be a little bit brighter or a little bit thicker of an outline. But at least in a darker environment, it will stand out. It'd be interesting to see kind of like what this would look like in like a desert or a light environment. I'd be very curious about that.
You in your adventure.
Again, it looks like it's just a default whenever you pick up a note or anything readable, it's going to have the thing on the left-hand side. Good to know. Again, that's just part of that accessible design. Ooh, what I am noticing though, I don't know if you notice on the video, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a center dot, which means that is going to be an option to be able to tune. So what center dot is that it's for motion sickness, because obviously you're going to be swinging around, you're going to be kind of dodging, you're going to be there's going to be a lot of movement because it is first person. So having a center dot means that you can be able to focus. If you can focus in on that point, it helps with motion sickness. Also great for cognitive too. But I did notice that's there, so that's great. It looks like it's a constant one. That's awesome too.
Down you go. Another time, chump.
Okay, so there was a bit of an X reticle there to let you know what, like, when the person's out. It'd be great if it was a much better contrast, but that's
during your adventure.
It's whatever.
These versatile tools are at your disposal. It's up to you to find clever uses for each of them.
In German, what was that? Okay.
That includes Indy's
Okay, so there's a camera icon.
Historical insights and important clues. Or, if you feel the need, use it to receive puzzle hints.
Need to direct the light to the metal discs.
The journal is your complete guide.
Okay.
It starts as a blank slate, but becomes a detailed art.
Okay, this is now we're seeing more of the menus. Okay, so default font size is on the smaller side. But I think it's just more of like just the lack of contrast is kind of hard for me to get. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like lower contrast stuff that makes it difficult to be able to see. It'd be great if there was like better opacity in behind these text boxes to make them stand out more, and also just not use the gray text, because it just, I understand what they're trying to do. There's like the white text is the headings and the gray text is the paragraph, but it kind of really doesn't make it easier to see. It's not bad, but it's not great either. I get what it's going for. I get the look that it's going for. Just wish that it had a little bit better contrast. That's all.
Archive of your journey with maps, photos, and letters. It's a reminder of where
you can kind of see it here, like even against a light environment, there is a bit of a backing to it, which is good. I think I would probably want that a little bit darker. Hopefully, there's like maybe like a high contrast text mode that it'll do that. But if not, this may be the best they got. I think this was probably like they probably saw the text was against a light environment and be like, oh, it's hard to see. Oh, just add a backing box to it. And they did, but they kind of kept the opacity at like, looks like at like 50%, not at 75, or like, which is usually the default.
You've been, and for the sharp observer, a hint about where to head next. Your travels will inevitably take you into...
Yeah, okay, so it looks like large-ish icons, but again, it's that the white outline areas that's around everything.
That's where disguises come in.
I hope they fit. You should have become a man of the cloth.
I found another calling.
Use of disguises can help you enter guarded areas.
Okay.
Ensure you avoid those who have a sharp eye for spotting trespassers.
I like that. Infiltration with disguises. That's cool. That's cool.
There you are.
Golden medallion. Okay. Oh, okay. So basically, there was like the guy stood up, wanted to, I guess wanted a drink, and you just kind of brought it to him to kind of like calm him down. That's kind of neat. That's a neat way to sort of like, you know, instead of having like, because I thought when he grabbed the bottle, he was going to take him out, but that was clever.
And of course, there's the whip, Indy's most important tool. It's a powerful weapon in combat and a crucial tool for traversing lost ruins.
Come on, you can do this, Indy.
So it looks like you have the camera up at pretty much at all times. Oh, okay, that's interesting though. So I guess I'm seeing the outline around the object. So it looks like white is for interactables and yellow or gold-ish is for like, I guess, weapons or throwables. That's my guess. Okay, and then it comes bring up the button to throw the whip.
There, the water's flowing now.
Indy's greatest tool, his mind. Just like Indy, you'll use yours to navigate buried tombs and activate forgotten puzzles while avoiding deadly traps.
Looks like you're climbing, so basically Uncharted style.
Clues from the journal, traversal, and decryption are just a few of the things you'll need to figure out the solutions. Every puzzle is designed to fit seamlessly into the world. They range from smaller challenges, hiding forbidden secrets, to epic obstacles leading to greater mysteries.
Longinus, the soldier who pierced the side of Jesus with a holy lance.
He really does sound like Indy. Man, Troy Baker is good. That's a waste of wine, but I get it.
3.
What was the 3 for? Oh. Nice. Oh, I'm gonna have fun with these puzzles.
Make you feel like the world's greatest archaeologist.
That's gonna be cool as hell. Oh, I can't wait for this.
Sounds like that did something.
I love it. I love it.
key to the game's combat is to carefully decide your approach. Will you outsmart?
Watch your step, pal.
Or overpower your enemies?
Ooh.
And that's Professor to you.
Nice.
Outsmart foes in stealth, using your environment as your greatest weapon.
Oh, I saw that. Okay, hold on. Okay, see, it looks like there is going to be icons above people's heads, let you know when they're like looking for you. I can see, because you see like a little bit of a question mark. It'd be great if you could be able to increase the size of that of those icons, make it a little bit easier and a little bit stand out a little bit more. But that's interesting.
Pick up a nearby object to distract, stun, or subdue enemies while remaining unnoticed.
Mist, er hat ihn umgelegt. Das tat echt weh.
Oh, okay, yeah, it changes to a red exclamation mark when they definitely know that you're there.
In a brawl, you need to hold your own with powerful combos, blocks, and defensive parrying.
Not a very cinematic fight, but I get it.
Mixing up these moves is critical to landing a knockout combo or a classic finisher. You'll combine these brawling skills with your whip, your revolver, and anything within reach for amazingly creative combat.
Huh. Cool. Knock him out of the pin roller. Ooh, dynamite. Goodbye. Oh, that's interesting. The AI, you can like dodge out of the way. They just know that there's dynamite. That's cool.
To avoid sounding an alarm, you can carry incapacitated enemies into the shadows, out of sight from patrolling guards.
Oh, okay, so you will have to drag bodies to the shadows. Okay. It's good to know. Ah, see, he would have been
As
caught.
you complete missions, you'll earn adventure points to expand your skill set.
Oh, you increase your skills?
There are dozens of upgrades that let you customize Indy's abilities to your playstyle.
Lucky hat. Oh, wait. What was that? Uh-oh.
The ability Lucky Hat gives Indy an extra chance to come back from a fatal blow.
You just go grab your hat and then come back to life? That's funny.
The Bare Hands ability strengthens Indy, letting him take down enemies unarmed.
Fell like a leaf.
Clever. Wow, this really does feel like the
Open areas give
movies.
you the freedom to find your own adventures.
Giza.
Wow.
Okay.
What a view.
In these areas, let your curiosity take you off the main path and uncover new missions, mysteries, and secrets.
I want to do all that.
It's a trap!
Of course it's a trap.
We're about to die!
So what do we do?
Find a way out before we're crushed!
Wow, that does sound like Indy.
Everything is carefully researched and crafted to authentically recreate a vibrant 1930s.
What are you selling?
I think I have something for you.
Yeah, little guy.
Maybe this would tease open your money pouch.
Exploring with a keen eye is essential to making discoveries. Like an underground fight club.
Oh boy. Okay.
While the vividly recreated locations you visit have a clear goal driving the story forward,
Oh, you gonna? Okay. Oh.
you'll always feel enticed to
Sorry, I just got
the
excited for a
world and
map.
discover the many secrets hiding around every corner.
Which locks do you open?
Hell yeah. Oh, I
This
want
gives me the heebie-jeebies.
snakes.
Scared of snakes? Not a chance.
We can't wait to bring you along for this journey we've poured our hearts
Oh,
into.
that's so
For you to
cool.
experience the wonderful places, meet our charming cast of characters, and discover the secrets of the Great Circle.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Son of a... No, wait!
Adventure calls. All right. Coming December 9th, 2024. And then 2025 for PlayStation. Very cool. Okay. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Definitely didn't look like there was a lot of accessibility kind of just built into the gameplay stuff. Some things, you gotta tell from just the UI. It definitely gives me pause on certain aspects of for certain disabilities. I don't think this will probably be accessible to a lot of totally blind players. It could fit with a lot of sort of players that do have some residual vision potentially, but my worry is that because it's a very dark environment, it'd be very difficult to see for a lot of things. So, and I'd be very curious to see what, like, for deaf and hard of hearing players, what if there's, if like, say for instance, like you're in an ancient ruin and you hear rumble of rocks kind of like falling in distance. Is there going to be like any visual indicator to let the deaf and hard of hearing players know that that's like the base of the room that you're in is about to crumble and crash down? Hopefully there's like rocks and stuff that falls that kind of let you know, but they didn't really show any subtitles of anything like that. I hope that's also the case. So there's a lot of stuff that is still up in the air, like a lot of questions that I definitely would love to be able to have answered. I know there's quite a few people who have played it, and I'm hoping that maybe some of them had taken a look at some of maybe the settings or accessibility or tried out some of that stuff. I just have to look into see what others have talked about, but for now, not too bad. I know it's a very super long episode. I apologize, but this is kind of like I was very interested to try this, to take a look at this video and see what it was like. So I hope that this is okay for a longer episode. This is definitely way longer than I normally do, but I hope that it makes up. I made up for it by just talking about stuff. So anyway, that's it. Take care. Have yourself a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.